Paranormal Activity Chronicles, Part 1 to 10.
I once fell asleep while at the wheel making a long drive to my dad's. I heard a dear friend's voice yell through the radio, "Bitch, wake up." It startled me awake right as I was almost running off the road at a bridge. I began crying and pulled over. She had passed away 3 months before, and we always teased each other with the word bitch. I was shaking so hard when I made it to my dad's. He told me it was her saving my life, because it wasn't my time. When I was younger, I had a dream. I was on the highway with my dad's best friend, and he was going to sleep. I kept saying, "Wake up, wake up, can you hear me?" But before he could wake up, he crashed. Like a real big crash. I woke up out my sleep crying and shaking. Not even 2 days later, my mom said she had to talk to me and told me my dad's best friend died. I said, "He was in a car crash." She said, "How did you know that?" And I told her I was there, just in my sleep. I never forgot that dream. My kids left the door open when they left to go with their uncle one night. I got tired and went to sleep. I got extremely uncomfortable because I couldn't fully fall asleep. My husband said twice, "Momas, the door isn't locked. Go lock the door." I was so exhausted, I couldn't get myself to get out of bed. By the third time he yelled, "It's not safe. The door is open, go lock the door." I jumped up to go check the doors. It was cracked open just enough that if you walked up to my steps, you could see that it was open and walk in. My husband passed away June 2020. This happened in November 2022. My brother-in-law and I were in the kitchen pantry closet eating Little Debbie snacks and ramen noodles, and he was in the fanciest suit. He looked so great. Then he stopped and asked me, "Did I die?" I remember looking at him and telling him, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, okay," and went back to eating. He had been murdered 3 days before this. I believe he didn't even know he had passed.
My mum's best friend, more like an aunt to me, passed away. We were very close. She had been in the hospital with stomach issues. I was told her husband was bringing her opioids to deal with the pain while she was in the hospital, and she passed away. A few weeks later I had a dream. She was at the kitchen sink, and in my dream I knew she had already passed away. I looked at her amazed. She looked at me and said, "Why are you looking at me like that? Everyone keeps saying I'm dead, but I'm right here." I think she didn't know she had passed. I had that dream 10 plus years ago and still remember it to the T. My sister had just left our mom's house and was headed home. She said she heard our aunt say, "Slow down some." My sister drives with a lead foot, so she turns the radio off because she thought she was hearing things. She was nearing the end of the road, and there is a slight hill towards that part of the road. Again, in a more stern voice, she heard, "Slow down." She slowed down drastically. When she topped the hill, there was a car parked on the road with people standing outside the car. Because it had broken down, if she hadn't slowed down, she would have topped the hill and struck the vehicle, and probably killed all the people working on the car in the middle of that country road. My aunt had died 3 years earlier with Alzheimer's and hadn't spoken in maybe 5 years before her passing. One night I heard a woman's voice ask, "Are you ready?" It shocked me awake right before the whole house started shaking. It was an earthquake. Not a big one, or even dangerous at all. But I live in the Midwest near Chicago, and earthquakes just never happen here. It was super weird. I remember my mom telling me a story of her living in the projects. When she was around 20, the early 80s, it was her first apartment. And my older brother was like 5 at the time, and she's told me she's seen this figure many times, especially when she went into the military. That's when she realized what it was. She was in her living room cleaning, and she went to go to take a nap and saw this figure outside of her screen door. She jumps up panicking and yelling, saying, "Who are you? Get away from my door." And it just stood there, and she said from what she could remember, it was pointing downward at her door knob. She thought they were motioning to open the door, but she looked and saw that she had not locked the big solid steel metal screen door. and she sees this black shadow figure smile, and it has a mouth full of pretty white teeth. She said her heart sank, and she ran over to the door, locked it and shut the other door and locked it as well. She runs and checks her back door, and the shadow is there doing the same motion. It was not locked either. She had forgotten to lock the doors, and as soon as she did it, the doorknobs started rattling. Her neighbor that lived across from her saw what was happening, and the neighbor told her that there was a group of men outside her door talking about what they was going to do to her if they could get in on her. The lady said she grabbed her Bible and started praying, because they mentioned my brother and he had long, beautiful curly hair and that he looked like a little girl. That guy went around to the back of the apartment and tried getting in. He was later found shot in the head, trying to climb through another person's house to get to their child. My mother said it was the angel Michael. I remember going on vacation to Florida, and the day I was supposed to return home was gloomy to me, but was sunny to everyone around me. I was driving while on the phone with my mom Bluetooth, and I heard a voice tell me to tell my mom that I wasn't going to make it home, and that she'd have to come get me from somewhere, but I'd be alive. We joked about making it home at the same time, but something told me this was serious. That was at 2:45 p.m. At 2:58 p.m., I envisioned myself hydroplaning, flipping 6 times, and dying. I told God, if he was the voice I was hearing, then tell me what to do. I then hydroplaned, and as I was spinning, I asked God to hold the wheel. I heard him as clear as day say let go. So I did, and I ended up getting pinned to a tree. My engine and dash were sitting in my lap. I was less than an inch from being crushed. My grandmother's voice then came over the radio as a phone call and told me, calm down, you're okay. I'm sending you to people that can help you. My grandmother passed in 2011. This was in 2016. Come to find out, the 2 people never existed either. One day, while smoking my blunt and in deep thought, out of nowhere I heard a man's voice in my ear scream, shut up. When I say I never been so scared in my life, literally shook me to the core. Then another time my baby father got killed in front of me. His favorite artist at the time was Yo Gotti. I forget what album it was. If I'm not mistaken, it was Cocaine Music anyway. He passed, and I was home one night. Out of nowhere the radio that I had with the CD and it came on and played his favorite track, number 7 on the Yo Gotti album. I went to turn it off only to find out it was never plugged in from when he unplugged it the night before, because the socket sparked. Do you believe in the afterlife? Which one was your favorite story? Comment below and share your own stories.